Summoned. Initial talents. Walking on the street, UMO ignored everything around him. Well, including a figure that suddenly came from behind. Xiaoyu, good morning. Get off me as soon as you say this, you bastard. Due to the strong impact, UMO was knocked to the ground by the white-haired girl. Hey, it's all because Yu doesn't listen to me at all. Don't think that because your name is Marissa, you are really black and white, okay? Patting the smoke and dust on his chest from throwing himself on the ground, UMO glared at the white-haired girl in front of him angrily. Lingyu Marissa, the name of the girl in front of him, UMO once doubted whether the three characters Marissa after her name were added by himself. It was not until he saw the registration number from Lingyu's registration information that he realized that it was indeed her name. Lingyu's parents are a wonderful couple, and their daughter is also a wonderful person. What's wrong with Xiaoyu today? I feel absent-minded. Do you want to give me a shot? Come on, sister. He hit Lingyu on the head with a knife. Because he was not used to it, UMO always called Marissa Lingyu. Yeah, it looks like there is no change at all, so I can rest assured. After all, Xiaoyu is my 461st target. Marissa nodded to herself. 461? Wasn't it just 459 yesterday? Why are there suddenly 2 more people? Because the strategy was successful, the sisters gained both. Don't think that UMO and Lingyu are talking about games, because this is in the 3rd dimension. UMO still remembers Lingyu's crazy speech at the opening ceremony 2 years ago. My goal is 3,000, so all the seniors here, please be prepared. Well, in front of 2,464 people in the school plus 152 teachers and 3 principals. So, 1/3 of the girls in the school have been captured by you. Is it the seniors or juniors this time? Yuma's academy has a total of 5 grades, and Yuma and Lingyu are in the same grade, 3rd grade. Where's the schoolgirl? Yes, congratulations. Same joy, Xiaoyu. Let's act together next time. Huh? Are you going to let me NTR in an honest and fair manner? How could it be NTR? What's mine is yours. You haven't changed at all. We've known each other for 9 years. Except at the beginning, you kept making sarcastic remarks. In the end, the ancients didn't deceive me. UMO sighed sadly, knowing that Ho Lingyu, whom she first met 9 years ago, was just a cold-faced Lolita, but she suddenly lost her mind and said to UMO, "From now on, you will be my first target." Then it turned into the way he is standing in front of UMO now. Era, it's time, hee. Time. UMO looked up at the most central area of the city and saw a huge clock tower above. The minute hand was now pointing to 12. The time has indeed come, but it doesn't have anything to do with us. UMO listened to the loud noise from the clock tower and looked around. He saw a girl next to the station suddenly put down what she was holding and gestured with her hands in the air a few times. A wonderful formation of a 6-pointed star appeared at his feet. The girl's black hair suddenly turned fiery red. A long knife appeared in her hand. She was covered with a black windbreaker and then disappeared instantly. Looking at her changes, it's a random mission call. She should be a fire mist warrior. Lingyu looked at the place where the girl disappeared and said lightly, "Flame hair and burning eyes?" UMO looked at the place where the girl disappeared strangely. It seemed to be a rare title profession. Well, don't worry about these. Anyway, these are the matters of the summoned and have nothing to do with us. Sitting in the classroom, looking at the teacher who is spitting on the podium, UMO slapped hot Xie in boredom. I really envy that guy Lingyu. The president of the student union is really good at skipping classes. Looking at the empty table in front of him, Lingyu felt a little envious. Classmate Yuma, please stop playing with the flashlight down there, okay? It's daytime now. The teacher on the podium suddenly frowned and looked at UMO. Huh? Flashlight. UMO, who wanted to stand up, suddenly found that he couldn't move. Feeling the dazzling light coming from under the desk, UMO suddenly had an unpleasant feeling. A purple six-pointed star appeared at Yumo's feet. The initial summoned person summoning array. A classmate seemed to have seen something under Yumo's feet and shouted loudly. The teacher on the podium frowned and looked at the watch in his hand. Now is exactly the summoning time. I didn't expect that 1 in 10 million initial summons would actually appear here. Obviously, the classmates and teachers were not surprised by this situation, but were just a little surprised. Congratulations, classmate Yumo. You have become the Summoned One. Summoned One. This is a special name that suddenly appeared 10 years ago. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a game of the gods. 10 years ago, 1,000 people suddenly disappeared from this world without any reason. After a period of time, they suddenly came back and gained various abilities. According to them, they were chosen by God to participate in a game of the gods. The summoned are summoned by people from another world to fight for them in another world. After the first summons, the summoned people will get various initial abilities to become the capital of the battle. The so-called battle is to kill other summoned people in the same world. The winner will get a chance to make a wish to the gods. As long as the request is not too excessive, it will be fulfilled. The losers who are killed will return to this world and wait to be summoned next time. Of course, the game is not just about killing each other. There are other types, such as special tasks of teaming up or a single player to kill other worlds. After completion, it is also an opportunity to make a wish. In killing tasks, except for teaming up, almost only one winner is allowed. It is worth mentioning that the number of summoned persons has always been maintained at 2W9999, neither too much nor too little, and the age of the summoned persons cannot exceed 30. Once summoned, his age and body will remain at 17.8 years old. There was once a winner who made a wish in the hope that his friends would also become summoned. Although he succeeded, once the mission failed, his memory would be erased and return to his original appearance. Moreover, the summoning array that came after clearing the level and making a wish was green, while Yumo's was purple. Did a summoned person die in this world? UMO guessed as she looked at the purple light under her feet. After a few seconds, the summoning array of the six-pointed star was combined, and Yumo disappeared instantly, and the purple light that filled the entire classroom also dissipated. At the same time, in the distance, in the pure white room, the number 29,999 engraved on it suddenly increased by 1 digit and became 30,000. On the other side, UMO stood in the black space and saw a display screen suddenly appeared in front of him. Welcome the 30,000th chosen candidate. Now we begin the newcomer trilogy. You will determine your race, talent, and divine power in the trilogy. Your initial talent is being randomly generated. Talent generation, natural body, you are the incarnation of nature. You can communicate with all plants and command them. You can also energize and control any plant. If you in the first song, you can keep this talent, otherwise you will be eliminated from this talent, and any talent below this level will be randomly generated and cannot be changed again. In the interlude, you can obtain your god's power. The condition for obtaining it is to kill the remaining 10 summoned people. Otherwise, you will no longer have the opportunity to obtain God's power. In the finale, your race will change incrementally from the human race, and which race you will eventually become will depend on your performance in the opening and interludes. Searching randomly for different worlds suitable for newcomers. The search is successful. There is a summoned person in this world. The code name is Secret Attack. Kill him. This world task is completed, and you will retain your talent permanently. Because it is a newcomer's first song, you will not be able to get the opportunity to make a wish. Since the enemy has entered this world 5 years before you entered, you gain privileges. Everything you do in this world will become reasonable, valid only in this world. Because the enemy has been summoned hundreds of times before, the newcomer song, Absolutely Fair, is activated, and the enemy has been suppressed to the strength of 5 summons. You gain privileges, skill stimulation, obtain 3 talent skills, obtain the usage and proficiency of the main weapons in this world, and physical conditioning. 30 minutes of strengthening begins. After 30 minutes, you will be rewarded with a reasonable status in this world. Please master your natural skills within 30 minutes and learn how to use the main weapons of this world. Looking at the rows of data on the display screen in front of him, UMO was a little dumbfounded. After spending a few minutes carefully reading the rows of mission guidance and game clearance conditions, he sighed slightly. No wonder it was said on TV that God is the fairest. He only gained weapon use and physical enhancement after being 5 years behind. Following the instructions, UMO closed his glasses and began to accept the god's memory of the use and skills of the main weapons in this world. At the same time, UMO's body was slowly being strengthened to the level of an ordinary soldier. After all, before being summoned, UMO was just an ordinary school student. Even Ling Yu's slight collision was knocked to the ground. Talent skills are generated successfully. Please let the 30,000 newcomer become proficient and use them as soon as possible. Wild growth. Use the power of life through the body of nature to control the crazy growth of plants and increase the lifespan and hardness of plants. Fantasy transformation. Plants are transformed and controlled through the vitality of the natural body. By consuming vitality, any plant can appear in any place. There must be nodes in the air, such as the user himself. Natural incarnation. Passive as long as you are in a place with plants, even if you do nothing, the plants will automatically protect you and take care of you. As long as there is nature, you are an immortal existence. Resurrection time depends on the wound and vitality. When the vitality is 0, unless there are plants around to give you vitality, you'll be counted as killed. Looking at the introduction of the 3 talent skills, UMO began to pray that the world was a primitive world. Otherwise, these 3 skills would be almost non-existent, because where there are no plants, UMO's skills would be almost useless. As for what vitality is, the memories received during the transformation explain it very clearly. Vitality is the foundation of a living thing. For example, UMO is now 17 years old, and he can live to be 100 years old. So his initial vitality is 100, and now he has consumed 17 points. There is no upper limit to the storage of vitality, and the method of absorbing and storing it is also very simple. Touch the earth or plants, and you can slowly gain vitality as long as you are in nature. UMO just stood quietly in a space for 30 minutes. 30 minutes are up. The summoning begins. Summoner, none. Newcomer, your summons this time is automatically displayed. You can move freely, and there is no summoner. A black hole appeared at Yuma's feet, and Yuma fell directly into the hole before she could react. After passing through the darkness, UMO suddenly felt the friction around him getting bigger. He opened his eyes, and he seemed to be falling straight down among the clouds. Below him was a green grassland and an endless forest. A place like this is probably my home court. But what should I do if I'm so high I can't fly? 2. Haven't you noticed that giants are all in pain? Leaning his back against a huge tree, UMO breathed out softly. In fact, UMO didn't need to be so careful, because when he climbed onto the big tree, the branches and leaves automatically closed to cover his figure. However, everything he just encountered left a psychological shadow in Yumo's heart, so he became more cautious decisively. Just now, UMO was lucky enough to fall into a deep lake when he landed. Although he still suffered some trauma, he quickly recovered under the treatment that UMO controlled the vitality in his body. However, the little vitality that was left was reduced a little. The treatment of this scar consumed Yuma's lifespan of nearly a year. Just when his head came out of the water, what came into view was a huge face. This face was almost several times bigger than Yumo's entire body. UMO just looked at that face, and then the huge face suddenly opened its mouth and bit him. UMO suddenly panicked and kept shaking his body in the hope of diving down, but because his body was too stiff, it had no effect. Seeing that the mouth that was almost bigger than UMO was about to cover Yumo's upper body above the water, a huge pulling force came from Yumo's feet and immediately pulled UMO into the lake. Then the big mouth closed on the place where Yumo's upper body was just now. If it weren't for the pulling force coming from under the feet, Yumo's entire upper body might have been bitten by the big mouth. It's not necessarily the Virgin's explanation. UMO, who was pulled into the water, struggled for a while, but found that he could breathe in the water. He closed his eyes and found that his passive skills were taking effect. If he thought about it carefully, naturally formed lakes also belong to nature. So the person who saved him just now couldn't be. Looking down, he saw two thin water plants wrapped around his legs. In an instant, Yumo remembered the introduction of his passive skills. As long as you are in a place with plants, the plants will automatically protect you even if you do nothing. Although I don't understand how these two water plants knew that they were in danger. If it weren't for these two water plants, they probably wouldn't be waiting for rebirth in that big mouth now. Really? Why don't you just airdrop me into the city? Such a dangerous place? UMO looked at a group of humanoid creatures under the big tree that kept trying to climb up, but kept falling down because of the obstruction of the branches. According to initial intelligence, these creatures that look like enlarged versions of humans are creatures that suddenly appeared in this world 100 years ago. These creatures are not naturally generated, otherwise they would not actively attack Yuma. These creatures have no intelligence, but have extraordinary learning and autonomous abilities. Moreover, these creatures feed on humans. They only attack humans but ignore other creatures, but they do not necessarily need to eat. The vitality of these creatures is about 100, which varies from high to low. In other words, from the time they appear in this world, they can survive for about 100 years even without eating or drinking. It feeds on humans, but it doesn't necessarily require food. It will attack me. UMO jumped from this tree to another big tree in a secret place, and then jumped down from the 30-meter high tree. He stretched out his right hand and pointed his fingertips at another uncle in the distance. A vine branch suddenly appeared in Yumo's hand, and the other end was connected to the big tree that UMO was pointing to. In an instant, the vine branch in his hand shortened, and Yumo flew towards the big tree because of the pulling force of the vine branch. Just when Yumo was about to hit it, the branches on one side of the tree shook slightly, and then Yumo hit the branch full of leaves, without any damage at all. Fantasy transformation and passive are really convenient to use together. After shaking his hands, UMO continued to jump down from the tree, repeating his previous actions and moving quickly through the forest. TSK, this ability looks like Spider-Man. After using his ability to fly out of a forest of leaves, an open space appeared in front of UMO. It seemed that UMO had rushed out of the forest. In front of him was a grassland, and a majestic high wall appeared in the distance. The city of humanity. Suddenly, a huge head jumped up from under UMO, and a big mouth quickly bit UMO. Is it that strange walking species again? Why don't you have a long memory? His free right hand was aimed at the big mouth below. A nearly huge wooden board appeared in Yuma's hand, and a sharp branch was facing the giant that suddenly flew up. There was a sound of sharp objects piercing the chest, and the Qixing species was completely pierced through the mouth by the sharp branches on the wooden board thrown by Yumo's hand, and the head of the branch even broke out from the giant's back. Wild growth and fantasy transformation are also very easy to use. Standing on the branch of a tree that suddenly broke out of the earth and instantly formed a tree nearly 20 meters high, UMO looked at the giant struggling on the ground. There are still 20 days until the official battle. Well, let's practice here for 10 days before entering the city. Looking at the tall city wall in the distance, UMO thought lightly, and because of his talent, he could get food and water from the trees. Looking at the giant who is still alive after being punctured on the ground, UMO pointed with his hand, and the vitality in his body was instantly mobilized. Then the giant stopped struggling and saw a bloody flower breaking out from the giant's back and a faint smoke coming from the giant's body. It spread out, and the blood-red roses only bloomed behind the giant's neck for 3 breaths. Blood-red flowers continued to break out of the giant's body. After a while, the giant's originally huge corpse turned into a beautiful rose flower. 10 points of vitality can control flowers to bloom from the inside of living things and increase their value quickly. Receiving 90 points of vitality emanating from the dead giant, UMO thought lightly, looking at some wandering figures in the distance from time to time, whether to capture a few more giants and experiment. Well, let's just catch more so that we can deal with it if we are surrounded by a large group of giants. As he muttered to himself, UMO's eyes rested on the 2 giants not far away. After consuming 3 points of life force, he saw 2 roots suddenly bursting out of the ground at the bottom of the big tree that suddenly appeared at UMO's feet, rushing towards the 2 giants, instantly piercing their thighs, and then slowly dragged to the side of the rose flower that had just appeared. Putting one hand on the big tree to receive the feedback of vitality, UMO looked indifferently at the 2 giants who had completely recovered from their wounds and climbed up and gathered around the tree. Then the experiment begins. Yellow flowers suddenly exploded on the bodies of the 2 giants. It was impossible for UMO to hold back on this species that almost ate him as soon as he appeared. And because giants are species that appeared due to unnatural reasons, UMO also instinctively developed a strong dislike for giants. Public information. There are 2 ways for UMO to obtain vitality. 1. Kill the creature that still has this vitality, and then absorb the remaining vitality from the creature, but it must be an unnatural creature. 2. Obtained through the feedback of plants, and there are 2 methods of feedback. 1. If UMO touches the plant, it will get the vitality feedback of the plant. The degree of feedback depends on the strength of the plant. The vitality obtained by ordinary plants is very low. It can obtain hundreds of vitality at a time from 100 to 1,000 years and continue to obtain it. It can obtain thousands of vitality points at a time from 1,000 to 10,000 years. 2. UMO can use wild growth to instantly turn a lesson of seeds into a 1,000-year-old tree, consuming hundreds of vitality at a time, and then the ancient tree can continuously feed back UMO's vitality. 3. Entering the city, enemy information. TSK, I thought I could enter directly. UMO spent 6 days walking around the huge 60-meter high city wall on the periphery and found that although the city had city gates, none of them were closed. In other words, there was almost no place to enter. Although UMO could quickly enter the city using his abilities, he would definitely be discovered. First, it was difficult for humans to explain, and second, he might be exposed to the enemy's sight. UMO could not lose 3,000 vitality in one attack. UMO's current vitality is only over 6,000, which was obtained after receiving feedback from nature for nearly 13 days in the forest. The vitality required for a resurrection after death is a constant of 3,000 points. In other words, if UMO is now fatally injured, he will need 3,000 vitality to recover instantly, which is enough for a human to live for 3,000 years. After inspecting the city gate closest to him again and finding no signs of opening at all, UMO prepared to return to the big tree that he had spent 200 life force to create and attached his right hand to the tree beside him. Several vines suddenly stretched out from the surface of the tree and wrapped around his hand. UMO jumped down from the tree. A wooden sword instantly appeared in his left hand, and he slashed at a giant who had been following him below. The giant wanted to reach out and grab UMO in his hand. When he just stretched out his hand, 2 roots from under the tree broke out of the ground, piercing the giant's shoulders and immobilizing him. The wooden sword in UMO's hand also chopped the soft flesh on the back of the giant's neck to the ground. The vine on his right hand was released, and UMO stepped on the head of the giant corpse that was fixed by the roots of the tree, then jumped up again, grabbing the vine that appeared out of thin air and flew to another tree. After UMO jumped away, the giant's corpse that was fixed by the tree roots suddenly exploded, and crimson flowers fell from the giant's corpse. Are you saying that the gate to the east of the city will be open today, and that any humans will come out? UMO, who was staying on the branch, tidied up the clothes he had worn for 13 days. There was no dirt or damage to his college uniform, and he was receiving messages from nature. Although UMO could not enter the city, he could receive messages from the plants in the city. There are many strange giant creatures rushing towards Ware. Are there many giants? Surrounded from all sides. After looking around, Yumal asked about the trees at his feet. Message from my companions in the grassland. Those strange creatures will arrive here in about 1 day. 1 day. 1 day later, it will be the official start of the war between me and Secret Assault. According to the information submitted by both parties initially, Secret Assault has the ability to transform into a giant and command giants. I don't know how many meters it is. His coordinates will be refreshed every hour. At the same time, he will also get my information, which is probably the information about my abilities. My coordinates should be refreshed every 2 days. UMO summarized what he had observed in the past 2 days and found that in the past 16 days, except for the first 9 days, he started from the 10th day. On the 10th day, UMO suddenly found himself surrounded by many giants, and there were not so many giants around in the previous few hours. In other words, these giants came from the surroundings, and then UMO moved. Then on the 12th day, UMO found himself surrounded by giants again. If it hadn't been for finding a tree about 40 meters high, he would have been eaten. When he moved again, he found that there were still giants around him moving towards the place where he had rested before. It was the same on the 14th day, the 16th day, and just now, so UMO concluded that the enemy's coordinates were refreshed every 2 days. Comrades inside the high wall sent a message that the East City Gate has been opened, and there seems to be a human legion coming out. Yes, thank you very much. UMO jumped down from the tree and then landed steadily on the ground. He patted a horse in front of him. Because the East Gate is surrounded by plains, UMO would need a lot of vitality if he wanted to carry out the kind of aerial movement just now. So he decided to change his movement method. At this time, the advantage of being able to communicate with animals and plants was revealed. As for the city gate on the east side, Secret Attack seems to be there too. The coordinates are not as precise as a person, but as small as a small town. UMO can only feel the town where the Secret Attack is located, not the precise coordinates. Similarly, the coordinates of UMO obtained by Secret Attack should be the same. UMO rode his horse and stopped at the newly opened city gate. I am a castaway outside. My village was attacked by giants, and I